the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Refs View, part of the SM Media Podcast Network. I'm Scotty Pike, always a delight to be your host as always as we look at the big refereeing decisions over the previous week. To join me as always, it's a pleasure to welcome my two very special co-hosts. First of all, Des Roach.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be listening to this. You all right, Scott?
I'm very well, thank you. And hopefully we have him for the full day, Steve Conroy.
Hello, depending on how the dogs behave.
Yeah, well... We did obviously have a midweek card. Not a lot happened. There was obviously, well, not a lot happened, but there was one big incident that has got a lot of people talking. Dundee United obviously have made their feelings very clear on what they think of VAR. I don't imagine, Des, after the midweek fiasco, that their stance will have changed very much.
I wouldn't have thought so. I think they were very justified in their opinion. And it's now becoming a wee bit of a trend, isn't it? They've already said that they were withdrawing support for it. They've now got another reason to say they're withdrawing support for it. And Jim Goodwin, I think Jim Goodwin carried himself very well, saying that he had a chat with Willie Collum. He won't reveal exactly what was said, but he was very, very plain that at the start of the season, when managers were briefed what to expect and what not to expect with regard to VAR intervention, and from what Jim was saying, and obviously we weren't privy to being in that room at that moment in time, what Jim has said is that they've went against it.
The problem, Steve, with this is that I have seen this a lot of different angles. I've seen various different ways of looking at it. The reason it wasn't given, the reason the goal was disallowed was because VAR deemed that he headed the ball onto his own arm before it flew into the net. Okay, that was the reason. That's come out. That's been out in various articles that you can read. The problem I've got with it though is that yes, it took ages to come to that conclusion, but I've watched it several times, and every single angle it looks different. So like, it's not. Is it clear and obvious?
Well, that's my issue with it. Now, I've said, and I think I said to you guys, that this isn't one that Jim Goodwin should hang his hat on, because I think this one is arguable, and I think it did come off his arm. I'm convinced enough that it came off his arm, but was it clear and obvious enough for the on-field decision to be overturned? I don't think so. Now, I think that they got it right, but I'm stressing the think. It's the same as the Alistair Johnson one. Can you prove one way or the other? No. I mean, I was convinced enough. I saw the ball changing angle and all the rest of it. That's an opinion. It wasn't cast iron. So the thing that's doing everybody's head in is that VAR is only there for clear and obvious. And we said with the Alistair Johnson one, I think we all said that we think it's out. You can't prove it's out. Mm-hmm. So the on-field decision has to stay. And the same way with Dundee United. I think that they got the decision right, but think isn't enough.
The other thing as well, Des, we saw this obviously with the FA Cup, and we're seeing it with the kind of automated offsides as well. Technology is changing. There seems to be a bit more help coming to referees, but again and again in Scotland, and we'll get into it over the course of the weekend, we're letting ourselves down, I think.
Yeah, we're making ourselves look like the ugly sisters, aren't we? We're just not getting a grasp of it. We're not the only country that's having teething problems, but how long has it been here? How long have the coaching been done? We shouldn't be having these errors. As we've quite rightly said, it's there for clear and obvious. I mean, what was the timescale? It was quite a lengthy timescale.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. There was I think it was 3.5 minutes. Yesterday there was a game between Bournemouth and Wolves.
7
minutes,
yes.
And that was obviously the semi-automated offside trial as well, which I think is a good thing. But what I was noticing as well, and I know you noticed this. See, look, back in the day, you would go to games and you would celebrate. You can't celebrate a goal anymore.
No.
That's the thing. No. It's impossible. It's impossible because you're constantly thinking, is there an issue? Like Rangers game were a perfect example on Saturday. Like looking at it from where I was, there was no issue with it, and then the goal's disallowed because it hits off a knee. Again, we'll get into that as well. But the Bournemouth and the Wolves supporters were shouting, "This is embarrassing, and it's not football anymore." And these are the paying customers. Do you know what I mean? These are
the whole point of football is for the punters. Jock Stein, I think it was him that famously said, "Without supporters, football is nothing." We're driving people away, and we. How many times have we said it, Des, that VAR now is turning into just a fancy way of disallowing goals? It's a nonsense. And if it's clear and obvious, you look at it a couple of times, you make your mind up, move on. If it's 7 minutes, it's not clear and obvious.
Yeah.
Why are you continuing that conversation? See if you're getting to 2 minutes, you just turn around and say, "Sorry, conversation ended, inconclusive, let's get on with it."
Right. Oh, I'm not sure. I'll have another look. No, tell me, is it in or out? Oh, it's out. Right, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's a piece of nonsense.
Yep, entirely agree.
Well, we'll move into a calm weekend in Scotland where we had 6 Premiership games, some quite feisty games in here. Rangers 1, Motherwell 2, we'll start with on Saturday. Another disastrous home result for Rangers, massive result for Motherwell's new manager, Michael Wimmer. Couple of incidents that I was going to get your thoughts on this game. First of all, Des, the Motherwell first goal was originally flagged for offside. It was thought that it was flagged for offside. Casey was then shown to be on, and Motherwell obviously score the goal. Butler makes a huge mistake. That takes a couple of minutes to come to that decision. I can understand why the linesman maybe gets confused, though, because the player who's originally offside then plays the pass. But I think he sees that one of the players who ends up coming back on then has nothing to do with the goal. I think he flags for him and doesn't see the Casey, I think, who plays the pass. So I think it is just a confusion for the linesman. I can understand it. And in that regard, VAR's done its job.
Well, VAR's done its job correctly because the goal was correct. It was onside. Where I've got the issue is, now it was David McGeechee who was the assistant referee that time, who was a vastly experienced FIFA official, done cup finals a lot. See, when you see the pause and play, he is completely out of position. He should be in line with the second last defender.
He's about 4 yards, yeah.
Yes, the second last defender and the attacker, they're pretty much on the penalty area line. Mm-hmm. So you're not just on a grass cut that you can see. You've got a white line that's showing you, but he was vastly, vastly out of position. And to me, that was the more concerning thing. Thankfully, VAR was there to overturn it. Gavin Duncan quite rightly got involved and said to Nick, "No, you need to have a look at it." David McGeechee shouldn't be getting those decisions wrong, not at the level that he's operating at. He was far too much ahead of play. I think he's anticipating. Well, I don't know what you can say. What you're thinking. I'm surmising that he's seen when Dessers has got the ball, there's potentially an attack get up the other end of field of play. Can't have that. You've got to be just dealing with there and now. To say, thankfully, Gavin Duncan was there, and it was a correct goal, and Motherwell weren't punished for it.
Steve, that Des brings up an interesting point. Like the goal comes from a Rangers break that ends up being a disaster, and within seconds, Motherwell have the ball in the net. Is it just a case that the linesman's out of position? He's just way behind play.
He's just been caught, and best will in the world. And 9 times out of 10, David will catch that every single time. But he's human, so we all make mistakes, and that's what VAR's there for, is to catch the obvious mistakes.
That's the clear and obvious.
That's what it's there for. So although it was an individual error, and he'll not do that again for a while, the referee team got the decision right. Yes. So that's what it's there for.
Des, I can't remember the last time I watched a game and there was a back pass, and I've seen 2 this weekend in the Premiership. We'll go to the first one. That is as clear a back pass as you'll ever see from Motherwell.
Yeah. The fact you see the unanimity of the 3 of us laughing at it. Come on.
How is it missed?
That one, and obviously it's a glaring area. It's an error, and they'll have strips ripped off them for that one. That has purely been a lack of concentration. Yes. Pure and simple.
Switched off.
They've seen the ball getting played in with the defender. They haven't they just haven't switched on to it. I'm amazed that there wasn't more of a clamour. But
Yeah.
it's a mistake. These things happen.
They're too busy thinking about the next phase of play.
Aye.
Yeah. Well,
Aye.
the next game we'll talk about, the only incident in it is a pass back, and I think there is a reason that it does get missed by. I don't think a lot of people were screaming on it from it in the terrace as well, which I think is a reason for this. But this one, you could hear everybody in Ibrox had noticed it. What we had noticed that it's a clear pass back. Let's get into the big decision in the game. Rangers had a goal disallowed. Dessers had the ball in the net. It was given as a goal, then it was disallowed. It was overturned because it was deemed that Danilo had touched the ball with his knee, starting a new attacking phase of play. Therefore, Dessers was offside. I should say, from the first angle, from where I saw it, I didn't see where the touch had come from. I've seen it 3 or 4 different times. I didn't see where, if he had touched it. There is an angle though which makes it look like the ball changes direction, Des, which really kind of changes the perspective. But it shows you again and again, and it's something I'm quite happy to admit. Once I've seen the angle, I've seen it differently. You need 4 or 5 different angles to see things like that because it isn't a clear touch. You don't see that straight away, I don't think.
And again, that's what VAR's there for. And that's why if we have I always call it VAR light, if we've got the proper VAR and having the correct amount of cameras, and thankfully it did show on this, because I'm not going to win after timer. When I first seen it, when we were talking, I did say, I thought, I'm not sure if he's touched it. I thought the foul may have came from Dessers being offside or the push in the back. That was my only assumption. But when you did see that one angle from whatever camera number 5,
kind of behind the goal, I think.
Yeah, you do see a marginal change in direction. So if there's a marginal change in direction, it doesn't matter how marginal it is, the change of direction it's got to also make contact with Danilo. But as we said, that's the safety net, and that's why VAR's there.
Because Steve, obviously the interesting thing as well is when the ball's played by Yilmaz, Dessers is in an onside position, but it is deemed when that ball touches Danilo, there is a new APP that starts. Therefore, he is in an offside position. So I'm quite glad that has been explained. I'm keen to see what the VAR kind of audio is for that and what other people think of it. But to me, I think they have got that right eventually.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely nothing much to add to it, to what Des has said. But that's what it's there for. And sometimes we need to explain these things to people. So, and it doesn't matter, it's skiffed off them, but the laws of the game don't, they don't, it's a touch or not. It doesn't matter how marginal it's a touch.
How did they word that in Uruguay? It's skiffed off them when we all play for the same laws.
Universal word.
It's a sclaff. It's a scliff.
There's kids in Buenos Aires just now saying, that's scliffed them. But
Steve Conroy said that.
It doesn't matter how marginal. If it touches, it touches.
And I'll tell you what, right? And I know it's a refereeing programme, and we try and support them, and we can be critical. We have been critical, but I'll tell you what, Gavin Duncan has made 2 massive decisions correct there, for both in the favour of Motherwell. So as much as it's easy to be negative, let's be positive. Gavin Duncan, well done.
He did well.
No, definitely did well. Got 2 decisions right.
We were just criticising the pass back. Remember, stuff like that is nothing to do with VAR.
He can't get involved.
So Gavin will be up there going, oh my God, but nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, I think it is just a lapse of concentration. Yep. Moving into Dundee 1, St Johnstone 1, not a lot happened. Both sides just desperate not to get beat, I think. But the only one thing that caught my eye was, again, another pass back. But Des, I think there was a bit of sympathy towards the goalkeeper here, because the sun looks to be very low and directly in his eyes. And I think when you actually see it from a different angle, it's in the referee's eyes as well, so he can't see it. I think that's only what I'm assuming. That's only what I can see, because the angle I saw, the sun looks horrendously in their face.
I think I agree.
I'll go with it. But when you watched it, you think, what is he doing?
Yeah, it's worse than the Rangers one, I think. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But yes, okay, it's not Christmas time, but I'll happily concede to that one. Yes, he was blinded by the sun.
Because as well, like somebody was telling me, obviously I knew it was an indirect free kick, but somebody was telling me, does it warrant a card? That, like, would you
No.
book it? No, like, that is one of those things that you can't book somebody for.
See if it was if somebody was bearing down in goal and potentially get in for an opportunity to score, you could maybe make but he's just picked the ball up and there was nothing in it.
Yeah. It used to. I'm not awful sure if it's still the law, isn't it? But if a goalie handles it, even if it's illegal, you can't sanction him unless he punches somebody or anything like that, because
he's allowed to pick it up in the penalty area.
So you wouldn't caution him anyway.
We'll go to Ross County, Kilmarnock. Ross County absolutely flying at the moment. Kilmarnock, very difficult situation they're in at the moment. Ross County had the chance to obviously make it a bigger lead. They had a goal disallowed for, it was quite comical defending from a Kilmarnock perspective actually, but it was deemed that there was a foul from White on Ndaba, which led to the goal being overturned by VAR. Des, I do think it's a fair call, to be honest.
Probably is, yeah. Probably is. I don't think there's terribly much you can argue with it. It's one of those decisions that it's an expected decision, isn't it? Nobody's made any complaints about it.
No issues.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with it either. I think it's, again, just a foul happens. You'll see that foul a lot, but it is one of those that's probably given. 5:30 game on Saturday, St Mirren 2, Celtic 5, 2 penalty incidents. We'll start with the one that was given. Celtic's penalty, Levioso and Maeda. Absolutely no doubts at all.
No.
Clear penalty. Des, what about the one that wasn't given for St Mirren? Johnson on Ado at 3-2. Again, if that was given, it could change the perspective of the game. A lot of people are saying there's clear a penalty, as you'll see. Do you agree?
Yeah, I've been getting it tight and work all day from St Mirren fans, from Rangers fans. I've been getting it tight. So Alistair Johnson's dived in.
Yeah.
He's taking the boy out. It's a penalty kick. People, again, work supporters and people say, "Oh, it's a red card." I don't think it's a red card,
No, it's not.
but it's a penalty kick. And Johnson's been very fortunate over the last couple of years. He's managed to, and I'm not using the word because I get Celtic fans will jump over me using things like dark arts and stuff. It's just a foul. Was that?
You did get a bit of a doing for that.
Oh, I did. Aye. Says the Celtic supporter, Steve Conroy. To be fair, I think it was half of them for you with a different username.
I just get pelters because I dare say anything against Celtic when I'm a Celtic supporter.
Aye, but it was a penalty kick. It's a foul. That's what he's done. It's a foul. See if that was 10 yards outside the penalty area, you'd be given a foul for it. So why are you not giving it there? And it was clear as day. St Mirren were robbed.
Steve, any disagreements with that?
Other than a card, I think it was well worthy of a year. I think it was one of our old friends, a high tariff yellow or an orange card. He was a bloody lucky boy, but no, it was a clear penalty. I cannot believe the ref missed it. We're all refs. You miss things. I can't believe that VAR, on reviewing it or having a quick look, didn't think that was worthy of an on-field review. So ref.
And it's not like Matthew. Matthew's pretty quick with sanctions.
Aye. But
I actually thought he was having a very good game up until that point. That was what I said. I turned around and said to who I was watching him with, I said, Matthew McDermott's having a very good game here. And I don't say that very often about Matthew McDermott. I thought I'd actually handled that game really well.
Yeah.
Like, hadn't booked a player, I think at that point. He then showed 3 cards to St Mirren later on, all justifiable in my opinion. I thought he was seeing the game out perfectly, but you can't make that kind of mistake.
No. Yeah. But we all make that mistake, so VAR should have helped him.
Yeah,
I'll say we've been critical of Matthew of late, but I said before he went into this spell that I think he's a very promising ref. I hope this is maybe him turning the circle, albeit that he made a mistake, turning the corner, albeit he made a mistake. But we're all human; we make mistakes. So hopefully this is him on the way up again.
Yeah. Again, we'll get into the VAR later on because I'm going to have a wee bit of a discussion point about. We'll raise that later because that'll be a spoiler for later on. Celtic obviously one step closer to the title. We've got a big game coming up in a couple of weeks, which we'll be on straight after. We'll cover that and get everybody's thoughts on what's happening. But we'll move into Sunday. 2 big games. We'll go first to the Edinburgh Derby. Des, is frantic a start of a game, 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, usually a game that can be quite controversial refereeing wise. John Beaton was on ref and Nick Walsh was on VAR. Firstly, Nick Walsh was VAR for this game on Sunday and had the referee post for the Saturday game between Rangers and Motherwell, and Andrew Dallas was VAR for the St Mirren Celtic game on Saturday and then gets Aberdeen Dundee United VAR on Sunday. Like, have we just got no talent coming through, or are these two guys the golden boys?
I'm going to hit this one. We have got absolutely no idea how deep our pool of talent is just now because of those very reasons. Those guys getting 2 games each at the week.
All on TV, by the way.
So how are guys coming through meant to learn? How are guys coming through meant to get a chance when you can't get these 2 off? And I don't want to personalise anything, but we all know who missed the VAR, Alan, the Alistair Johnson one. We know who missed that. So that surely cannot be the pinnacle of our VAR talent. I hope to God it's not.
And John Beaton was VAR for the Ross County Kilmarnock game as well. So, like, I think I would not get 12 referees that can do the 6 games. You know what I mean? Like,
God knows what. Yeah, God knows.
Like, to me, it's just like, I'm not, like, again, that's 2 pay packets. I get that, and like, but I would be quite annoyed if I was not.
The only thing I can assume is the availability. I mean,
that could be it as well. Yeah.
Referees are just like yourself, like Steve, like me. We've got jobs, we've got families. There could be a family event, there could be a holiday book, there could be an illness with children or whatever. But it doesn't look good when you're having to double up all the time. And I know I've done it. We spoke prior to it, and I'm sure Steve's done it as well. But what you need to do is you need to give the guys that are on the way up the encouragement and not create a bottleneck.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of then with Derby was the potential penalty. Hearts, right back Taylor, looks to bring down Bowie. VAR check not given. One question, I was watching it with somebody and they asked the question, if it's not a penalty, Des, is it a dive?
I don't think it's a dive, and I don't think it's a penalty. These things happen in football.
Yep.
Not every physical contact is a foul, and not every foul is a yellow card. That's just the way it is. These things happen. The guy was maybe a bit off balance. They would either come across one another, a stumble. No, I think it would be very hard to justify giving a penalty in that at that moment in time.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. I think I said that as well. I says, like, I don't think it's enough to, like, I don't think he's looking for it, but I also think, like, there's not enough contact in it for me to be like a penalty. I don't think it's that kind of thing. Steve, would you agree?
Oh no, every word of it. Yeah, and exactly as Des said, not every contact's a foul, not every fall is a foul, and it's a contact sport. So you're going to bump into people. No, there was nothing in it.
Let's go to Aberdeen Dundee United. Couple of incidents that caught the eye. We'll start with a possible penalty for Aberdeen. It looks to a shot from, I think it was Keskinen, hits off Ross Graham's hand. Wasn't given. VAR goes away from it straight away. VAR looks at it for a brief amount of time. Des, it's one of those that hits off his hand, but is it a deliberate act?
No, it's not deliberate. No. What else is he going to do?
Yeah.
And remember, to be deliberate, but there was he wasn't making himself big, wasn't being his arms in ridiculous positions. And the hurly-burly of what's going on in the box when somebody's blootering the ball in at you. Nah, he's got to be somewhere.
Yeah. He's not trying to get an advantage and make himself unnaturally big or whatever. The ball's hit him. As I always say, when the ball's getting hit off you from that close, you'd need to be Usain Bolt to get the road of it.
Yeah.
There's those kids in Buenos Aires now talking about blooters.
You're just writing your own dictionary.
Blooters and Skiffers, that's the name of the show. We'll go to the goal.
Blooters and Sclaffs, there you go.
Blooters and Sclaffs. We'll go to the Dundee United goal that was disallowed. Now, this is quite a kind of interesting one because I don't think anybody noticed that this was offside until VAR had a look at it, because from where you look at it from the first angle, it looks a perfectly good goal, but there's a bit more to it when you actually look into it. There's a few things here.
Nobody. If you've picked that up on the first view, then you're a little better referee than any of us. But when you see it paused and you see it still, you think, oh, right, there is. And that's exactly, again, we've said it's why VAR is there. It's the attacking phase of play. And when you see that there, and the goal can't stand. He's offside. So, yeah, good use. And that was Nick. So, Nick, take a bow for this week.
Yeah, no, I think, Steve, I think that's a perfectly good use of VAR because, as Des says, like, in first instance, you would have found nothing wrong with that goal. But if you actually look back, this did take about 2.5 minutes. But again, if it takes a bit of time to come to the right conclusion, I'm okay with it. I just don't think it needs to go on for as long as most goals are. And this was probably a justifiable time. I thought this was fine, to be honest.
A couple of minutes is fine. But even if they had looked at, we said earlier on that they're looking at things for 8 minutes. Even if you get a marginal call right, 8 minutes isn't justifiable. But that one, no, that was absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And we've obviously got Scottish Cup weekend coming up next weekend. We will be having a kind of wee week off. We will be back for basically the calm before the storm, because we'll have Celtic Rangers on the 16th of March. We'll be on straight after it, where we'll give our thoughts. There's pretty much a dead rubber, but there'll always be something in it. You'll be watching on Sunday?
I'll be watching. Absolutely, I'll be watching. I'll be actually doing a wee bit of work at it as well. So, yeah, I know people say it's a dead rubber. It's not. It's absolutely not. Can you imagine Barry Ferguson's first Old Firm game going into Parkhead and having Rangers fans back for the first time in goodness knows how many years as well? He will be tearing the paint off the walls before that game. I would expect a completely different Rangers animal to be turning up on that match.
It's massive for Rangers. We've also got later on that Sunday, Steve, Dundee United Dundee as well. So I quite like this kind of derby weekend it's turning into, and we'll be busy that weekend. So enjoy your break.
The Dundee derby will be mental as well, because Dundee are in free fall, aren't they?
Yeah, they've really struggled. Yeah, like, you look how tight the league is. The league is so tight. I can't believe it. Like, you've got Aberdeen are kind of falling off. Dundee United are struggling as well. Like, you've only got realistically 12 points between 3rd and 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Like, brilliant.
I clearly remember a few weeks ago saying St Johnstone were away.
No, they're not.
We know.
Well, look at Hibs. I mean, they're 15 unbeaten.
Yeah,
and people were calling him for his head, David Gray's head.
Imagine saying before Christmas David Gray would get Hibs 3rd at the start of March.
It's incredible.
Beating Hearts twice, like, shows you stick. I think David Gray keeps this going. I think it could be manager of the year. I really do.
Where he's turned that around,
like, unbelievable job he's done.
What I think is going to be very important and very interesting is to see who they put as the referee for the Old Firm game on the 16th.
You want to take a guess? Do you want to have maybe a wee game of clue?
I can't see past one person.
A wee person.
Who?
A tall person or a wee person?
I think it'll be a wee person.
A wee person? You might be right. I hope it's a tall person.
Who we thinking? I'm just assuming you're meaning Don Robertson.
I think Nick will get it. I would prefer Don got it.
Is that not, like, I know that we're delving into the realms of controversy here by saying that, but are we not getting a bit, if Nick Walsh gets that game after the weeks he's had, is that not a terrible look for our talent pool? And I'm not saying Nick's a bad referee. I know he's made mistakes, but there's been 2 occasions this year already where he's made very, very bad decisions and he gets rewarded with the biggest game.
No, they'll put it down. They'll say that they need experienced hands. They might throw a curveball and give it to Beaton. But I think Don is still our best ref just now. And with the change in circumstance at Rangers, and now having away supporters at Celtic Park, I think that should go to our best ref and nail my colours to the mast. That's Don Robertson.
I think Don's the best referee.
Yep.
Did Don get the first game? Did Don get the first league game of the season?
Can't remember.
No, I think it was Nick.
Because I'm trying to think, because I think John get the second. John Beaton get the cup final. I can't remember. I think, did Nick get the Ibrox one?
No, I'm just looking back. What was the date of the first game?
I think it would have been early September, 6th, 7th of September, maybe.
Celtic Rangers beaten done the first one, 1st of September. John Beaton, Andrew
we then get
Dallas
the
as
final.
VR, and David Dickinson as fourth official.
Okay.
That's
Well,
why you keep notes, Steve.
yeah, to be fair, like,
Got it all bottled up here.
yeah, I
What
mean,
was it just for men?
it's certainly something to take note of. We will obviously not be here next week, we'll be here the week after. We are going to wrap up there. Des, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
And Steve, thank you very much, always, mate. Always a pleasure.
Very welcome. Please, anybody send anything in.
Yep.
Let us read.
Yep, anything you've got, send it into the Refs Review on X, as it's now known, and we'll comment on it, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.